Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Hog Sty podcast. The Redskins are in full-on staff rebuilding mode after the departure of most of their critical coordinator positions. Word out of Washington is that former Patriots QB Kevin O'Connell will take the quarterback coaching position formerly occupied by Matt Kavanaugh. The search for DC's DC also continues, and we're here to give you the latest and greatest on all of that. Alexa, please put Ramble about the Redskins on my to-do list.
I added Ramble about the Redskins to your to-do list.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back. It's the Hog Sty podcast.
Welcome to the Hog Sty.
And we're back with you, ladies and gentlemen. So happy to be here. Sean Conti here. The whole crew's around the table. What's up, Mr. Alex East?
Well, I'm happy we had a lady's voice on the show for a change.
That may be our first lady's voice, actually.
No, we had the lady
true.
from Richmond.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah, the Richmond PR lady, yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to break into a new demographic here, right, Steve?
Yeah, well, it's certainly, and I have news to announce to the world here. I am unfortunately resigning from the Hog Sty because I have received a phone call from the Redskins today offering me the job of defensive coordinator. They have heard that I played high school football and I interviewed with Jay Gruden. He said, that's good enough for us. You have the job. So this will be my last episode and you will find me on the sidelines.
Man, good luck in your future endeavors, man. That's a tough job.
Just remember
That's
to
an
go to the
unenviable
bathroom
job.
before you go out on the field, Steve.
There you go. That's right.
Yeah.
And as far as tough
Yeah,
job, if
there's
Joe
one
Barry
thing.
did it, how bad can I really be? I mean, come on.
Right.
Well, there you go. No, it's a great point. Probably a good segue there, too, into our first topic, talking about this defensive coordinator search position. So how is it possible we still don't have anybody for this?
Well,
guys?
first of all, it's not a search; it's a quest. Okay, it's a quest.
Yeah.
Because we're going into week 3 here as we record. Because
So-
we were
so
at
who's
the.
Frodo? That's the first question. I would assume that Jay is Frodo.
Okay, it's not always
And-
nerd culture, Alex.
Yeah, we didn't really fire Joe Barry. We just marched him to Mordor and dropped him into a volcano.
All right.
Hey, Kirk
really
Cousins
happened there.
would love this shtick.
That's true.
Yeah, you're right. This is right up his wheelhouse.
It really is. Okay, as we speak, Gus Bradley has accepted the job at I almost said San Diego at the at the Cityless Chargers. I guess it's Los Angeles Chargers.
The Wandering Hobo Chargers.
Yeah, Wade Phillips we lost last week. Mike Vrabel we lost to the Texans. Romeo Cornell, who fans wanted, we lost to the Texans. So this week
they got nice promotions, right, Steve?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they did. Romeo they're really functionally doing the same job, but Romeo Cornell got a new, better title, and so did Mike Vrabel, and probably more money. So this week, the Redskins interviewed Rob Ryan, they interviewed Dennis Thurman, they interviewed Jason Tarver, and John Pagano.
right.
And now there's also rumors about Jim Tomsula having interest, but I don't think we've interviewed him, and so I didn't have energy to look up his bio as a result of that.
That's fine.
Yeah. So I'd say let's talk about the big fat guy first. Rob Ryan.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
No.
No. No.
Right. No, so that's kind of where I was gonna go with this. I was like, "What's your gut reaction hearing about
No.
Well, my gut reaction is he's been a DC a long time. 5, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's been a DC like more than 10 seasons, and he's only had one
Right.
good defense in all those years.
Proving yet again that if you have a famous father, you can go a long way on
true.
the name, even if you were really bad at your job.
Yeah, I mean the 2013 Saints were one of the best defenses in the NFL that year. 4th in points, 4th in yards. But the very next season, they just tanked and became one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And the worst part about all that was Rob Ryan did not hesitate to blame the organization, and he blamed the players at that time. So that really soured me on that. But he's had a history of mediocrity and failure, except for that 1 year. So that's my
And great
thought.
hair. And mediocrity, failure, and great hair. He's like me.
He does have a glorious
Yes, yes.
weave.
And he looks pregnant.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I got a few pounds, but if you carry your weight in the lower gut, it really is not a good look.
Yeah, you don't look like you're pregnant, Alex. Whereas
No.
Rob looks like he needs to call his gynecologist.
Right. No.
'cause he's about to
My
drop.
fat spreads evenly across my body for the most part.
Fun fact: when you pop Rob Ryan into Google, one of the first results is adjustable gastric band. And I'm not kidding. That really is one of the results that comes up.
Well, it's funny because I think Rex, his brother, did do that. I think that's how he lost all the weight. Yeah.
He did the lap band surgery.
See, I'm not knocking it. It's an ironic.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like the Redskins are that interested in him. I mean, they did interview him. Okay, he plays, a version of Buddy Ryan's old 46 defense, basically, which is, stack 8 in the box, 2 linebackers, 3 DBs. That's basically the 46. He's very aggressive. Disguises a lot of defenses. Disguises a lot of blitzes, rather. He's played for a whole bunch of coaches: Turner, Art Shell, Lane Kiffin, Eric Mangini, Jason Garrett,
his brother,
Sean Payton, his brother. Yeah, it goes on and on. I'm not going to read all the numbers, but all of his points, his defense's points scored against, are in the 20s, a couple in the 30s. 1 or 2 in the teens. That's kind of the defenses you've seen for Rob Ryan. I think he's more name than reality.
Yeah. I think the thing that I found more interesting with the names of the people who we've interviewed at this point is we were going after a lot of guys from that Rex Ryan defensive family. I think we've interviewed, 3 or 4 guys who coached under Ryan at this point?
Well, Mike Pettin, Rob Ryan, Dennis Thurman.
And the other guy from Buffalo. Right, or no, wait, that is Thurman, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Thurman. Yeah, 3. So Pettin, Ryan, and Thurman. Yeah.
Okay, so but that's a number of guys. So you definitely see that's where the team's kind of thinking is they want to, I guess, stick with a 3-4 look, but be more blitz heavy, which I'm not against. I mean,
Although I think that 3-4 experiment needs
3-4.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that in general anymore, frankly, guys. Might be time to.
I agree with you, Sean.
It might be time to change to move to a different base D.
It's not like it's ever worked since we've tried it.
Exactly.
But
it's never worked.
I would
ever.
say we now have more good outside linebackers for it than we ever have had, but
we still don't have the defensive line for it.
Right, we don't have the rest of the roster still.
Yeah.
After 7 years.
It's just it's been the story for so long. It's been that same refrain. It's time maybe to try something new.
So can we all agree that we all vote no on Rex Ryan?
Yeah, that would be a
Rob
strong
Ryan, not
no.
Rex. Rob.
Yeah, I'm Rob.
Really, either Ryan I would probably be against. I don't think Rex would fit in well here. I just don't, personality-wise.
I don't think either one of them. I mean, Jay Gruden does not need big, loudmouth New Jersey blowhards.
No.
That's just not his style.
No.
Yeah, I would agree.
The media would be all over Rob. Either one of them, they'd be all over him, and we just don't need it. Sorry, Sean. Go ahead.
No, just imagine the DC media with the Ryans in town. It would be a circus. So who rises to the top then? Now, I've heard a lot about people, and I think a lot of players have been kind of saying that they expect to see Manusky to take this job. He's got the relationship there. We obviously haven't been able to land anybody that we've really any of the bigger names that we've been pursuing. Sounds like from what I've read, Manusky's a pretty strong candidate. I know we talked about it a little bit last time. What are you guys thinking?
Well, he's kind of he's the default candidate, is what he is.
Right.
I like Dennis Thurman. Dennis Thurman may be a decent option. He's a little older. He's 60 years old.
Right.
He is a Rex Ryan disciple, but in terms of where he came from, he was with the Ravens a bunch of years. But the word out of Buffalo, and he was just as a background, he was defensive coordinator for Rex for the Jets 2013 to 14, and then again for the Bills 2015 to 16. But the word out of Buffalo was that he greatly simplified the scheme and didn't necessarily follow the Rex Ryan 46, blitzing, ultra aggressive defense, and he kind of simplified it to adjusted to his players, and his track record is shorter but noticeably better in terms of rankings and stuff than Rex or than Rob Ryan rather. The Bills were a mediocre defense, 15th in points in 2015, 19th in yardage, 17th in points in 2016. So I think Dennis Thurman wouldn't be a terrible option, especially compared to some of these guys.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if he's more scheme heavy, I would say, and he can simplify things a little bit, and he knows how to match personnel to the plays he's calling, that's a leg up on Joe Barry. I don't think he ever really showed that he could do that very well. That would bode well, better for me, just speaking very generally. It sounds like a better match. The question, obviously, is whether or not we can get good personnel for any of these guys. I think that's going to be obviously the critical thing.
Question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say, I think now that the big crown jewel of Bradley going to the Chargers, I think now that that's done, we'll finally see some movement. I think the Skins were holding out hope that somehow we'd get Gus, and then they would be all peaches and cream and all happy. And
I think you can equate the Gus Bradley Redskins thing to. If you want to go think back to your high school experience, this is the non-popular guy asking out the prom queen.
Okay, asking out the prom queen,
and she didn't say no at first. She said, "Let me think about it." And meanwhile, she was waiting for a better, the quarterback of the football team to ask her.
Yeah, not the guy who leads the AV squad.
yeah, right. And so I think that was Gus Bradley,
right.
In the Redskins.
Yeah, I was certainly holding out hope that something was going to happen there. I know we talked a lot about Gus Bradley and whether or not he was really the person that caused that great Seattle defense years back, but shit, man, that's who I wanted.
He was, honestly. You know what? I mean, Gus's record isn't all that great either. He wasn't the defense whisperer. I think Wade Phillips was the defense whisperer.
No, but when he left town there, you got to remember, when he left town there, their defense declined almost right away. Seattle, I'm speaking of course. When he left town,
it's still a good defense.
Yeah, no, it is. Absolutely. They had some trouble there with Earl Thomas being out. They couldn't lock down the center of the field. That's why they lost this last game. But still, I think he's owed something. I think he's got a stronger resume than, some of these candidates we've been talking about. So
no doubt about that.
No
doubt about it. I agree with you there.
Now, this is tied into another topic I know we want to talk about. We might not be ready to move on quite yet, but I would just throw out there, I've heard the Redskins might be having some trouble landing getting someone in these positions because they've been so hesitant to extend Gruden. A lot of people aren't sure what's going to happen with our coaching situation, so that's sort of been posited as a reason that coordinators have been hesitant to take these positions here in Washington. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's one of the things I've been reading.
We talked about that last show. I mean, remember, we did. I agree. I mean, I think it's a combination of that, and we have terrible personnel.
Yeah.
We've got a coach who's got, is entering into the fourth year of his contract. We all know he's not going to play out the fifth year, without an extension. They're either going to fire him or they're going to extend him after this year. So
yeah, probably.
We've got that uncertainty, and we've got bad personnel, and so that's the problem. I mean, it's not an attractive job. Let's talk. You want to do the last two guys here real fast? Jason Tarver and John Picano. Jason Tarver's an interesting guy. He's 40. He's a younger guy, 42 years old. Never played in the NFL. He has been around a little bit. What's interesting about him is he actually has a master's degree in biochemistry and molecular biology. He's probably the most highly educated NFL coach, in the world. He's known as a very smart, very creative guy, out of the box schemes. He doesn't stick to one style. He's not dedicated to the 4-3 or 3-4.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. I mean, he was the defensive coordinator with the Raiders for 3 seasons from 2012 to 2014. Those defenses were not very good. They gave up, roughly 450 points a season in each of those years.
Mm-hmm. But look at the personnel again. That was
exactly.
a rough couple of years for them.
Those were bad teams. It was a bad defense and it was a bad team. But he's got a decent bio. The players like him, apparently. He's an interesting. Now, the thing about him is he doesn't have a ton of experience, but he's an interesting candidate, at least. He's been with the 49ers. Also, he was a Stanford defensive coordinator in 2011. That was a good team.
So he's that whole. Would that have been what's his name, Harbaugh?
2011.
I think he was.
That might have been his. Yeah, I think that was his first year because 2011 was the year Kaepernick was drafted, and Harbaugh was the coach of the Niners when Kaepernick was drafted. So no, he was not. He did not coach with Kaepernick. But Harbaugh.
Still, the Stanford program in general has been pretty impressive as far as coaching staffs, even after Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an interesting candidate. the Raiders stink aside.
Yeah.
John Pagano. This is the brother of the Colts head coach, Chuck Pagano. Just so everybody knows.
Yep.
He's 49 years old. He was a linebacker in college at Mesa State. Never played in the NFL. He was with the Chargers. He's been with the Chargers since 2002. Been with the Chargers his entire NFL career. He was a defensive coordinator for Norv Turner and Mike McCoy, 2012 to 2015. These were mediocre defenses, not great. About 350 points given up each year, a little more in 2015, ranked in the teens, essentially. Yardage-wise, they were ranked 9th in 2012 and 2014. So his defenses were good, not great. He does have some benefits, not the strongest candidate in the world. He's not known as a great teacher. The criticism of him is he doesn't have a concrete defensive philosophy necessarily. He just is. He's got a playbook, So that's a quick read on John Pagano. I don't know how much strong of a candidate he is in terms of the Redskins front office thinking.
Well, I mean, I wonder if they're just thinking him because he worked with Greg Minuski before, probably, or at least they would know each other pretty well from that Colts.
It's a fair thought. I don't know if any of those descriptions you just gave, Steve, would inspire me to give him the leg up over Minuski himself. Decent candidates, it seems like, but nothing there jumps out at me. It's like, oh, we got to land that guy. We got to get him.
Well, Greg Minuski doesn't jump out at me either.
Oh no, me either. Don't get me wrong.
The guy that's going to take the job. Yeah,
right.
Right. He's just a guy.
He's got a little history with the team. That's all he's got. Bringing to the table, and he's the outside linebackers coach.
He's got some history as a defensive coach. You can look at him and say, all right, he's done this in his career. He has a resume. It's not like you're hiring him without any kind of background.
Right.
Yeah, I just think if the Redskins really wanted him, they would have done him a long time ago.
Yeah.
We would have done 2 weeks of interviews if they just wanted to promote Greg Minuski.
Right.
I think they may default to him because nobody else wants the job.
To go back to your high school example you were using with Bradley, Minuski is, okay, so you brought your cousin to the prom.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's not too bad.
Ouch.
Either that or your friend who's the neighbor friend, who's always there, and she's willing to go with you.
Right.
That may be Greg Minuski. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
The only other rumor.
Go ahead.
Jim Tom Mansula was the only other rumor, but they haven't interviewed him. So
I haven't
spent a lot of time on him.
I haven't heard too many details about that. I feel like that was just a name that was kind of thrown out there.
It was. Mm-hmm. It was just a name.
Yep.
Nothing. The problem is nothing there really is all that inspiring. Nothing there. None of those names that we've discussed so far in this entire search have been like, oh man, this will definitely fix all our problems. I'm much more intrigued to see what transpires with Cousins if he ends up going somewhere else. If we end up with, say, the number 2 draft pick, that could end up being a nice defensive pick that's going to, I think, sink or float any of these guys, whoever we bring to town.
What you mean is that the fans. This is a fan rumor. This is not a real rumor. But the fans have proposed that now that
Kyle
Shanahan is going to be the coach of the Chargers or the 49ers, he's going to want Kirk, and he's going to just hand over the number 2 draft pick. First of all, I'd like to say this. The 49ers are not going to just give the Redskins a number 2 draft pick for Kirk Cousins. That's just never going to happen. Sam Bradford didn't get that.
Probably not.
Never going to happen.
Now, he just got $7 trillion instead.
Yeah, I mean, what they could do maybe is swap picks and add one. If we get 2, they get 17. That's maybe more likely.
Judging from what I've heard of this draft, though, that might not be a terrible move. 17 is a big. There's a big drop off this draft, I think, between number 2 and number 17.
I would just like this to dissuade the public from the notion that the Redskins are going to just get the number 2 pick for Kirk Cousins and another number 1. That's just never going to happen ever.
Well,
no.
And the bigger thing to me about this whole discussion is, okay, we do that. There's no quarterback worth taking.
No.
Period. Like
not in the draft.
Not the year to get a quarterback. It'd be great to build up the defense, but you're going to be sacrificing a whole lot of offense, I think, if we make that move.
You'd have to start Colt McCoy or get Tyrod Taylor, one of the two.
Yeah. Or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, our friend Kean Fahey loves Tyrod Taylor and, is constantly raving about him.
Jamal,
you guys out there, I know, all hate. Yeah, I mean, I know everybody out there hates Kean, but take his word for what you will. But I know Kean thinks he's great.
Yeah,
Whatever that means to you.
meh.
Tyrod's
He's
getting
meh
dogged
to
up
me.
there in Buffalo, man. He's getting dogged out.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
I know we could do a whole show on that on all 32. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
anyway,
don't know. I
Tyrod's
don't know.
not Kirk, but he would be a decent, cheaper, replacement. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves there with that, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think
I mean, but
go ahead.
well, I was going to say maybe that segues into our next thing. But if you have more thoughts on it,
No, not really. I mean,
we
I'll work my stuff in where I'll shoehorn it in wherever, man. Don't worry about me.
yeah, because you mentioned it in the intro though. We got a quarterback coach now finally, which is good news.
Oh yeah, quarterback coach.
this is
I don't
right.
think the Redskins, as of Saturday afternoon, is when we're recording this. This was not announced by the Redskins. It's just it was reported by CBS Sports and a couple other sources. But the Redskins did not announce this. But supposedly Matt Cavanaugh is going to be, who is our current quarterbacks coach from 2016, is going to be the offensive coordinator, and then the Redskins are going to hire Kevin O'Connell to be the quarterbacks coach.
Right.
That is what's reported, at least in various media sources, to include CBS Sports.
Yeah, just reading it this morning. So I'm sorry, Steve. So Kevin O'Connell is not confirmed as hired.
No.
Okay.
Not by the Redskins, at least.
Gotcha.
No.
Okay. See, I thought that part was
He's,
confirmed. I know we hadn't confirmed what's going on with Kavanaugh, but I thought he was official.
Well, somebody checked that. We can check that, before the show's ending. But that's
Oh, yeah,
my
we'll look it
understanding.
up.
The Redskins haven't. This is a guy. He was quarterback at San Diego State, drafted in 2008 by New England, bounced around from practice squad to practice squad, etc. for a few years. His career stats. You want to guess his career stats? This is fun.
Like what?
Take a
Quarterback
guess.
rating, or what do you want?
No. Like passes, completions, yards.
oh, I gotta
God.
guess it's under 100 completions or something like that. I mean, I know he was a backup till he was in his late 30s, but
His. Do you want to take a stab at this, Sean? You have any idea?
Yeah, let me take a wild stab in the dark. I'm not afraid of that. Let's say he's 15 for 31 for 120 career yards.
You guys are both overestimating his NFL
Damn.
stats. He is on a career. Kevin O'Connell, 4 for 6, 23 yards, played in 2 games.
4 for 6. Ouch. Okay.
wow.
Hey, that's he's got a good completion percentage. You can
There you
tout
go.
that.
He knows
That's
how to quit when he's ahead,
67%,
man.
So,
That's right.
yeah.
I
From
was
a
thinking
coaching
of
perspective,
different guy. That's my excuse.
yeah. From a coaching perspective, he was the quarterbacks coach in Cleveland in 2015. This was the Josh McCown, Johnny Manziel year. And so I kind of almost give him a pass for that. McCown played well. Manziel obviously was a train wreck for personal reasons. And he was an offensive assistant in San Francisco last year, 2016. So he's a young guy. He's only 31 years old. From a quarterbacking standpoint, he's 6'6". He was 235 pounds when he was drafted, so he's a big, solid quarterback. So he's, I think he probably played a traditional drop back system. Being that big would be my guess.
Yeah.
He didn't play much of anything in the NFL, but I would assume that's his style.
Right.
So,
Okay.
he carried a lot of clipboards.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, guys. I mean, how much is there really to say about the quarterback's coach? I mean, a lot of teams don't even employ one, as I understand. Or actually, I think a lot of teams employ one. You never hear about them. The Redskins didn't have one for many years. I know that was actually a big complaint fans had. But, I mean, this I would look at as a pretty low-impact hire here. I think its import is really what happens with the current coach.
I mean, it's better than not. Better having him than not having one.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think it matters a lot more when you got a young quarterback. Now, we could if we don't.
We might have a young quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But-
You never know.
But Kirk is 29. I mean, he's at that point now where he doesn't need the coach to say, okay, now you need to put down your phone and focus on, the game prep.
Well, how much is Kirk Cousins really going to improve? I mean, he kind of is what he is at this point, I think.
Yeah, and that's been a weird debate that people keep having that I don't understand. Why do we keep on saying he needs to improve more? He can throw for about 5,000 yards and 25 touchdowns every year, and I'm fine with that. If we saw that,
well,
for
yeah, I mean,
5
it's
years,
because
it's
they
great.
watch the games, Alex. I mean, I love the numbers, but I also constantly say you can't just look at numbers in football. The yardage is great, but the simple fact of the matter is his teams perform poorly in the red zone. Kirk himself has not performed well in big moments.
Just think about how the season ended.
Consistently, at least.
The season ended off
exactly.
off a panicked, forced interception that he threw in a big moment with the offense driving and a chance to win the game. I mean, that's how the season ended. So he does have some things to improve on. I think you look at his raw stats, it doesn't tell the full story.
Right.
He chokes in the most important times. So I think he's got improvement to do. I think generally, he gets things done. But, it can be undone.
My point is largely, I think if he were to say, okay, yeah, he needs to improve situational stuff, but I think overall he's kind of going to be what he is.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if he improves those, key third down percentages and red zone percentage.
On the other hand, though, we've got Nate Sudfeld on the roster who definitely needs a coach.
I
think we're spending too much.
Chalking him up as a loss.
When you haven't seen him make one pass.
I saw him in preseason and I was at training camp. That's all I need.
That's all you need. I mean, Nate Sudfeld's not going to be the starter. They're looking at him to be a long-term backup. He's a backup prospect.
Maybe.
But point is, he needs a coach. That's the point. He's a prospect.
Oh, yeah. He needs a coach. Guys like him are the ones where you want the quarterback coach.
But I think the bigger issue... Yeah, I think the bigger issue really, and the poll gets into this year, this week, our listener poll. How is the play calling going to work? Because this year, apparently, what was going on was that Jay Gruden would name the play he wants, and then Sean McVay would call the play, and then Sean McVay is reading the play with Kavanaugh's input. The three of it was a triumvirate. But Sean McVay was the guy who was actually reading the play to Kirk Cousins in a huddle. Right. And now that McVay's gone, how's it going to work? You want to just do the poll now, Sean? Since I just mentioned it. All right. This week's listener poll was who should call plays on offense this year? Physically call the plays. The choice was Jay Gruden, Matt Cavanaugh, or Bill Callahan, or other. So, what do you guys think about that?
So what was our opinion, or what do we think people said?
What do you think people said about that? Now, understand, of course, that when Jay Gruden did it in 2014, he was just terrible at it. That was 2 seasons ago, but he didn't do well at it. It improved when he gave up his play calling duties. Just remember that.
Well, I think that he can call the game fine. I think he needs somebody to help him with the other aspects. He needs his offensive coordinator to be the guy who says, "Hey, we're at the 2-minute warning. You have 2 timeouts left. Let's make sure we use them, at this time and this time. Someone to give him the situational stuff that he struggles with more than, he needs somebody to call plays for him."
So what do you think the listeners voted on?
Just judging by, where I think the people, I would say more listeners are probably against him than I would expect, but I'm going to guess it's pretty even because it's not like we have a Sean McVay anymore. We don't have a whiz kid calling the games. So, I would say it's probably pretty evenly split between Jay and Callahan.
I think that people said
John, what do you think?
They think Jay Gruden should call the plays this year. I am guessing that is what people said. Not saying that's my opinion, but that's what I think people answered. There we go.
Well, Sean, you were overwhelmingly right. You were right because the listeners overwhelmingly voted for Jay. It was 69% Jay Gruden, 18% Matt Cavanaugh, and only 8% Bill Callahan, and 5% voted for other. A couple of comments
I'm
from this.
Callahan was that low.
Well, people may be
would
remembering
be in love with that.
People who may remember that he was.
Plus, Alex, people don't know that much about it, man. A lot of people know the head coach's name and they know a little bit about it, and that's kind of all they know. I think a lot of people were probably thinking, they know Jay's an offensive guy who played quarterback. Let's go with that. I'm kind of assuming that's where people were coming from.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Just some
What's
comments.
up, James?
This is James, who is at Hog Wild. Hog with 3G. He says Jay needs to coach. The offensive coordinator, play caller needs to be in the booth. Plenty of time left for quality people.
Thank you, James.
So that was James's opinion. We had Joshua Leary. And Joshua, who is at Joshua Leary, says Jay has enough responsibility as head coach, but the play calling should come as a team effort, starting with the offensive.
I appreciate your input there, Josh.
Head coach. Last one I'll read here is.
What's up, Todd?
Last one I will read here is Todd Miles, who is at SkinsFan 197651. I read this because Todd kind of agrees with Alex. His comment was, but he needs to hire a game manager coach, i.e. a clock
You've got a great
coach.
point there, Josh.
They're not going to hire a clock coach, Todd.
Why not?
But we get your point.
We've done it before.
Well,
Jim
they
Zorn
haven't.
had a clock coach. His name was Denny Smith.
Jim Zorn was not a good coach.
No, he wasn't. But I would rather hire people for what you struggle at to make you better. That's always been my philosophy on working. I want people around me that are good at what I'm bad at.
Yeah, my opinion on this is I tend to fall into the Joshua Leary, boat in this. I don't think Jay needs to be calling the plays. I think it sort of needs to work how it does now. I mean, Matt Cavanaugh who's apparently going to be the OC, needs to be in the booth calling the plays. Jay needs to give him direction and let somebody else do it because Jay needs to improve on clock management. You can't hire a guy
I
who's
feel like
just
it's
going to be the clock
unacceptable
management coach.
for Jay
I
not
don't
to
think,
just
in my
fucking
opinion.
figure
I may
that
be
out.
wrong.
We're not talking rocket science here. Figure the clock out, man. I mean, for the love of God, figure the clock out, dude. Although we were just talking about, wasn't one of our candidates a rocket scientist, biochemist of some sort? Maybe we should get that guy.
He's a biochemist.
Yeah, we just lost.
That was
That's an insult to
Okay,
rocket
see,
scientists right there.
that was Jason
exactly.
Carver. Yeah.
We just lost that key demo.
His
Fair enough.
education
Hey,
goes
either
more
way,
towards
we need someone who
doctor,
can read
not
a
rocket
goddamn clock.
scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
I just don't think Jay needs to take the burden himself. I think it needs to sort of work out as how it did last year. Have Callahan and Kavanaugh talk about it. Jay gives direction. I want to pass play. Want to run play, or more likely, I want to pass 18 times in a row. Go do it.
Yeah,
So
people were really critical of that being overly complicated last year, and it's not like we took a lot of delay game penalties or anything. I don't understand why people are upset. The only thing I think you have a right to be mad about is our red zone play calling. Which, that might have been McVay. That might have been, I don't know who that
we
was,
did have
It could be a combination of
game
both
problem
of them,
in years past, though. I will say with Jake.
Personally,
that
I think
was a penalty that we got way too frequently in years past. Though I agree with you. This year they tightened it up.
Yeah,
we got a lot of them.
Oh, in his first year, yeah.
So,
in his first year,
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
He's gotten better since then. I think the red zone problem was a combination of the wonderkin trying to get too cute and Jay just kind of forgetting about, you're supposed to run the ball. I think that'll get better next year.
Don't be so predictable. Do things to set up good matchups, which we didn't do.
If they know you're not going to run from the 2-yard line ever, then they're going to flood the end zone.
Yeah. Right.
And and you're never going to have anybody open, and that's kind of what happens.
Yeah,
if you go 5 wide in that situation, they know you're not going to run the ball. At least keep
put
a
up
running
appearances
back in
for the
there
love of
to
God.
make it look like you could run, something.
And Kirk Cousins doesn't, quarterback sneak it too much. That's not an option really. We don't have a fullback who can just pound it in for a yard. They just the red zone just didn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
No. But anyway, my point was at the beginning of this is that I think they need to sort of stick to what we did this year. Jay needs to just give direction. The OC needs to call the plays from the booth. We don't want Bill Callahan calling plays, by the way. People don't remember that Bill Callahan
which is a
was
crazy
way more
statement.
pass happy than Jay ever has been. So, which is we don't need more. Yeah, we don't need more pass. Well, if you looked at I put a column out last week about this, and Jay really hasn't been that pass happy except for this year. He's not. I don't have the numbers right in front. I don't have the column right in front of me, but with the Bengals and with the Redskins 2014-15, we were kind of middle of the pack in runs. It was only this year that we got way away from it.
There you go.
So this year is more of an aberration, I think, than anything.
Well, I've said this before. I will be very interested to see how the play calling changes as we change our weapons on offense this offseason, because I can kind of understand why you go pass happy when you have that many good receivers. It's got to be very tempting to say our 5 best guys are all receivers at some point. Next year, that won't be the case because we'll probably lose 1 or 2 of our top receivers, and hopefully we'll draft a running back at some point in the draft. I know probably not number one, but maybe in the third or fourth round we'll try and replace Matt Jones with somebody who can actually do the job. So
yeah, and with the
I
new
wonder how the
coordinator,
play
too.
calling will change with new weapons on offense.
I don't think Scotty the Great's ready to give up on Matt Jones, by the way,
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know why they still are in love with him.
because he's a draft pick.
Yeah.
He's a third-round draft pick. That's why.
Well, let's see what happens there. Thank you for everyone, by the way, who participated in the poll. That's awesome, especially you guys who left comments. Good stuff. Do you guys want to seg? This seems like a good time to seg maybe into Jay Gruden himself, talking about his potential contract extension.
Let's talk about that quick.
Yeah, so really quickly, Steve, like Steve mentioned, he's entering year 4 of a 5-year total. A lot of people are saying he should be extended. Some people are saying, obviously, that he shouldn't. And like I kind of alluded to earlier, there's some speculation that our ambivalence to extend him here might factor into our difficulty filling some of these other positions. So what do you guys think? Has he earned this extension?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a column about this. Am I the biggest Jay Gruden fan in the world? No, but listen, if he does well this year, he's going to be basically the most successful head coach we've had, certainly since Norv Turner and arguably since Joe Gibbs. I mean, I don't know if I see a reason to fire the guy at year 4 unless he needs to fix the defense. The defense at least needs to see an uptick. If we see an uptick in the defense and the offense kind of keeps rolling, why should we change it? Give the guy a 3-year extension. Let's see how it goes. I can't believe I'm even saying that, but he's improved as a coach enough to where I'm kind of convinced.
I mean, I think Gruden will be here a long time. I don't see a need to extend him right now because I don't understand why everyone seems to think we're going to fall apart this season. I mean, I know we have a lot of questions in terms of Kirk's contract and all this other stuff, but this team...
Well, we got some other guys that have contracts coming up, too. We know we're not going to keep all of them.
McLuhan to fix all that.
Yeah.
That's...
I agree.
If we go into this season and Gruden doesn't have... Let's say he doesn't have Kirk, he doesn't get a good defensive coordinator, they don't draft well... what are you going to expect is going to happen, and how are you going to put that on Gruden then?
Well, see, I'm just speculating why people don't have the utmost confidence for next year. I'm not necessarily making this an indictment on Gruden so much as I'm saying I think this is why people have concerns. You've got a coach who, we seem ambivalent to re-sign. Again, a couple guys leaving. Kirk's got to get his contract. That's hanging over everything. Defense obviously was a mess. Not really clear how quickly that's going to get fixed. I think that's where most people's concern is coming from.
That,
I got to say, I kind of feel some of that.
I also find it very weird that we used to hand a guy a 5-year deal. And when I say we, I mean in the NFL, they would hand a guy a 5-year deal, and it was kind of understood. You would renew it in the last year because you don't want a lame duck coach. That's sports. Like every sport kind of acts that way, except for maybe hockey, where they fire guys left and right. And
or
you know
the
what
Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, or the Cleveland Browns. But we're only going into his 4th year, and suddenly everyone's panicking about this being a lame duck year, which just seems a year early to me for all this.
Well, they're not panicking about it, but it's a. I mean, Sean raised the point in the beginning of the show. I mean, it is part of the reason why they're having trouble finding a defensive coordinator. That's why the issue has been raised.
Well, I think that's more of a question of bad timing on. When we realized Joe Barry.
Maybe they should have kept Joe Barry, I mean, maybe they should just run out the clock with him and just evaluate all of them. I mean, it's too late now. It doesn't matter at this point. But maybe they should have just let Joe Barry draft well. Maybe McLuhan will actually draft some defensive linemen at the top of the draft, improve the front 7. That'd go a long way towards helping the defense, Barry or no Barry.
I mean, I think drafting just about any spot on defense will help the defense if we do it in the first 2 rounds. I don't know if there'll be a D lineman.
If he stubbornly drafts offense again, there's no telling what's going to happen.
Yeah. And everyone seems really excited about all these running backs that are coming out this year, which kind of has me worried that we will draft offense.
It's crazy. It's just nutty. I mean, why on earth would we do that?
Because everyone saw what the Cowboys did, and so they're like, "Ooh, let's do that."
Yeah, clearly that happens every year. Psych. I don't know, guys. I think you can say this for sure about Jay Gruden. First of all, when was the last time we had a coach for 5 years?
Gibbs. Or no,
well, maybe Norv Turner.
Gibbs
was
the one,
might have been 5. We'll look that up.
5, actually. I think he might have.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
And we're not a team that likes to, in recent history, keep guys beyond 4 years. Some stability might be good, and I think you also have to say this about Jay Gruden. He is, hands down, I think, the best coach we've had, and this team is the best we've had since Gibbs Part 2, and even that was...
Well, I mean...
Yeah, there were some issues there.
Not great either.
But I think the issues there were more
yeah.
in terms of, roster and how that was constructed.
Yeah, I mean, and to the roster point, since Kirk Cousins has been the starter, the team's 15, 10, and 1. This is a better record than most of our administrations have had. So, you know what? It might be time to just give Jay.
And by the way, Norv Turner was a coach from '94 to 2000. So yes, Norv Turner was the last one.
There you go.
Yep.
6 years.
6 years.
6, 7 years. Okay.
So there you go. Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, I don't know. I think none of us have the answer. There's a lot of opinions floating out there, but we certainly shall see. What do you guys want to talk about next? We got a couple more things on the agenda, so to speak. We got to talk Pro Bowl. We got to
let's do Pro Bowl right now. Real fast.
Okay.
Don't take long.
Yeah.
Okay. We had 4 Pro Bowlers this year: Kerrigan, Scherf, Williams, and Jordan Reed, and 3 of those 4.
And they're all gonna play, right, Steve?
3 of the 4 have bowed out.
What?
Kerrigan, Scherf, and Reed have all said no. Kerrigan has already had...
There goes that Pro Bowl party I was playing.
Kerrigan has already had elbow surgery. This is just clean up his elbow. It's going to be a 6 to 8 week thing, so he'll be back for OTAs. And so that means that Trent is our only playing representative in the Pro Bowl. The other injury update, since we're doing Rob
Trent.
Kelly had his knee scoped, which is probably just a cleanup thing.
Sure.
Also, so that's about a 1 month recovery. So now we have even less of a reason to watch the Pro Bowl.
I mean,
if that's possible.
I am a little surprised that Jordan Reed isn't going just because he is from that Florida area, isn't he? And it's in Orlando.
Well, he went to school in Florida. I'm not sure where his hometown is. Yeah.
Free ticket home. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thought. I don't know about you guys, but I'm of the mind that Jordan Reed should never see the field unless he absolutely has to. Because every time he goes back, to catch a pass, everyone, the collective breath is sucked out of Washington, D.C.
Can we just
I would
cancel the
much
Pro
rather
Bowls?
him not play in a Pro Bowl.
Seriously. I'm not a fan of generally Pro Bowls or All-Star games in general. They're so dull.
They were talking a couple years ago about how to make it more interesting, about how to make it more important, and nothing ever came of that. I mean, there were some ideas getting thrown around, like let's make it so that the Pro Bowl winning conference hosts the Super Bowl or something like that, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing ever came of that, really. The Pro Bowl, it remains as irrelevant as ever. I don't give a shit. Cancel the whole goddamn thing for all I care.
It's
Get rid of the
over.
Pro Bowl.
It's over.
It's a waste of
Canceled.
time.
I'm sorry, everybody. All 20 people.
Sorry, guys. The Hog Sty decided
this.
this.
Who have their tickets to the Pro Bowl, get a life.
Yep. You're not going this year, guys. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Pro Bowl doesn't make a difference to me, though it is sad. We had a good representation this year. None of the guys are going to be able to do it. But yeah,
I utterly don't care who at all. I think they ruined it last. At least they've gone back to I think in AFC NFC. That's better. Having the team, the team Dion versus the team Jerry Rice makes me want to punch myself. It makes me want to punch myself.
Yeah.
Well, don't do that.
Or maybe punch Dion. I think that's a good idea anyway.
The only idea I ever had that I think might work is if you moved up the Hall of Fame stuff, so they announced and enshrined people at the Pro Bowl. Move that all way up and
would give people another reason to tune in.
Well, but you know what the problem with that is? The logistical problem. Because the reason why they do it at the Super Bowl is because that's really the only time the writers get together. All the national writers don't cover the Pro Bowl, and they're not going to go to either Hawaii or Orlando and then fly to the Super Bowl next year. It's the only time of year outside of maybe the winter meetings, the owner meetings, that all of the writers are in the same place at the same time. That's why they really do it.
I forgot that the writers don't have internet and Skype. So
they debate it, but the way they do it, would you rather have it? At least they're debating it. The baseball writers, the way the baseball Hall of Fame works is a complete joke. At least the NFL Hall of Fame is only a partial joke. What they really need to. This is my rant. I'm going off on a tangent, but I think we have time. I think they need to dump the entire system. really. And I think they need to get rid of all of the writers. And what they need to do is the NFL and Hall of Fame needs to appoint a committee of football people, combination of GMs, former GMs, owners, a couple Hall of Fame enshrinee players who are smarter, and you can add a couple writers, add 2 or 3 writers, fine. But it needs to be football people. It does not need to be 48 writers. I think it's 48 people this year. Having 48 writers is just almost an insult. Wow. I think it is an insult.
I definitely think it should. I think if you have a golden jacket, you should get a say in who gets one. That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
Every former Pro Bowler who's still alive would get a vote. They can vote anonymously. I don't care how they want to do it, and then you just pick the top 5 vote getters or something.
Yeah, and I think you'd have to have some experts. I mean, you can't just have, Earl Campbell drooling on himself, filling out a ballot. I mean, you have to have,
fair enough.
Like a guy like Bobby Beathard, for example. Bobby Beathard didn't do anything, So have a guy like that would be a good representative on a Pro Bowl committee, I think. So it's better than baseball because baseball has like 1,000 writers. They let all of basically the Pro Baseball Writers Association
Right. If you're a member of the association, you get in.
Some of them aren't even covering baseball anymore, and it's just ridiculous. So it's better than that, but it's still a joke. So I think they need to dump the system, start completely over from scratch, and appoint a committee, a real committee of football people. Not Peter King. I'm so tired of seeing Peter King every year, doing it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of him, and I'm sick of it.
With you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be against that either. No, I completely agree. Clearly something's not working. Well, moving on from there, we also need to talk about the skin salary cap because we've got a glorious situation as I understand it. And I know we have an update about the trademark, so you guys want to talk a little salary cap
that's
room?
A quick one, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we can do 2 hours on it if you want. I have... Yeah,
Steve could do 2 hours on it is what he means.
Updated the majority of my 2017 salary cap stuff, and I have expanded it to project out to 2020, so I'm very excited about all this. But the bottom line is for right now is that what you guys need to remember is we're over 60 million under the cap right now. We've got over 15 million in rollover space from this 2016 season, and so we've got tons of room to do basically whatever they want. And not only that, but if you kind of take a quick
situation to be in,
look out to the other seasons, we don't have a lot of folks signed out long term. We've got about 80 million in cap space or in 80 million in cap hit signed up for 2018, 62,000 in 2019, and 54. I said 1,000. I meant million. Yeah. 80 million, 62 million, and then 54 million in 2020. So, and the cap's going to go up and up and up. So we're looking, in terms of cap room and cap space for the future, the team is in great shape. Great shape.
I mean...
Yeah, which is remarkable because a couple years ago we weren't.
I was just having a little flashback to the Vinny years. Well, remember how before every offseason we would have to re-sign Chris Samuels and John Jansen to some new 7-year deal just to get their cap number down?
Yeah, they were reducing. They were having to reduce cap space every year. Here's a trivia question. You guys ready? Since I just went through this and reprojected every player, what player on the Redskins has the longest contract? I'll give you the hint is that one player has a longer let me say it. I phrased it badly. What player is signed through the season farthest in the future? It's a one player answer.
One player answer.
Well,
okay.
I'm trying to think. I think Norman signed a 5-year deal.
Is this going to shock and appall us, Steve?
It's not.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if anyone else signed a deal longer than Josh Norman.
Yeah, what about Trent?
Maybe. I'm going to go Jordan Reed. I think Jordan Reed just redid.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not guessing Trent. I'm just thinking out loud here, as I always do. Let's go with... Nah, screw it. Let's go with Trent.
Okay,
I have no idea.
Alex is
let's
right.
Go with Trent.
The answer is Jordan Reed. He's
signed
you, through 2021.
Right.
He's the only player signed through 2021. In terms of other players signed long term, Ryan Kerrigan signed through 2020. Josh Norman is signed through 2020. Trent Williams, where is Trent? Trent Williams is signed through 2020. And there actually is one on here that's going to shock and appall you. You ready for this?
Go for
Tress
it.
Way.
Oh God! Wait, can we?
Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna guess that one, man. Okay,
Tress
good
Way
deal,
has a 5-year contract through 2020. The punter, yes. So,
But you know what?
Okay.
How many times have we gone through like 30 punters in a season? You know, like
yeah, it's so true.
we have.
It's so true. We get. We
and
do.
His contract is a cuttable one. It's not like we're locked into Tress Way forever.
he's a
anyway, if
punter.
we wanna get rid of him.
All their contracts are cuttable.
Yeah, I would hope so. If not, you got an issue. Yeah, in the
So,
front office.
the point is, it's a
okay.
good thing.
That's
the point
not
is, you
terrible.
got one person signed through 2021, 3 or 4 signed through 2020, and the rest of these guys, there's not even too many through 2019. We really have a very flexible, very well constructed roster from a salary cap perspective.
Right. And that I think that credit all goes back to Bruce Allen.
Yes.
McLuhan to an extent, but I think Allen really, when he came in, started that process for us, under Shanahan.
Yeah, he got rid of a lot of trash.
Cleaning up the mess that Vinny had left us.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
2021.
Yeah.
Damn, man, my debit card doesn't even expire until 2022.
Well, Jordan's.
Damn.
In terms of Jordan Reed, I mean, we're really locked into him. I mean, we could cut him if we wanted to. They're locked into him this year, but starting in 2018, his dead cap's down to $5.4 million. And his cap hit's 10.3. So I mean, we could get rid of him if not that I'm not.
Considering the situation we're coming into, that's
I
cuttable.
mean, if he got another concussion and something crazy happened, we could get rid of him if we wanted to.
Or if he decides to retire,
or if he if he decides to retire, it's basically treated like a cut, and so his bonus would be accelerated, and it would be dead cap space, and it's a cut. A retirement is basically a cut in terms of
and that's
the way
well,
the
that's what I
cap
meant.
treats
like,
it.
It's either you cut him or he retires if he's injured.
It's the same difference, right? So
So
that's a quick salary cap overview.
All right. Well, At least there's nothing truly vomit-worthy on that list of players with long contracts.
$15 million carryover, it just brings home the point more. Just sign Kirk and give him what he wants this year.
Well, you just can't. I don't agree. You can't just write a blank check to the guy. He's not good enough for that. Does he deserve?
Well, I don't mean a blank
mid-20s?
check. No. But,
well, you just said sign Kirk and give him what he wants.
Well, I'm talking. I said this year. I meant front load it, like I've been talking about.
I'm not even down with that. I mean, you can't make this guy the highest paid quarterback, and we should try to sign him. Anything up to about $25 million annual value. Okay, but if you're getting beyond that, I'd say just let him walk.
And I don't think it'll be beyond that. But if
I think he's going to ask for it.
I don't know if he'll ask for much more than 25. You think he's going to ask for more than 25 a year?
Could. I mean, we'd have to get Joel Corey on to ask again, but I think he could. Yeah. I don't think he's going to give the Redskins any break.
If that crazy offer comes through, if that insane offer to get the number 2 overall pick, if Shanahan really wants him in San Francisco, then you got to do it. I mean, you've got to do it. That's what I would say to that. Considering the other needs on this team, you got to. And
the thing to do in that situation is tag him with a non-exclusive tag. Mm-hmm. This is how this trade scenario comes up. Yeah,
make him pay.
And so if that's the case, if they tag him with a non-exclusive tag, he's worth 2 first-round picks. But that they never get 2 first-round picks for that. The teams will negotiate something less than that. And so this scenario with the 49ers that some fans are dreaming about, that's where this comes from. The idea is Redskins and Kirk can't agree to a long-term contract because he's trying to pay too much. The 49ers are willing to do it, and so we non-exclusive tag him, and then we negotiate down from 2 picks with the 49ers. And so is it possible then in that circumstance that they would give us the number 2 pick overall? No, but they might swap 2 and 17 with us and throw in another pick. Yeah,
right.
And Steve, what's the deadline for this? When does the franchise tag have to occur?
Well, the tag is in coming up at the end of February, but you don't have to agree to long-term contract till July. Right. And so he's gonna, the tag's gonna come up in a little over a month, and then they're gonna have time to negotiate with him. Mm-hmm. And then if we reach I think it's just something like July 15th. I don't have the date in front of me, but it's something like that. If they reach that date in July and there's no long-term contract, the rule says you have to play out the 1-year franchise tag contract.
I'm surprised that they haven't really announced anything yet. I mean, because we've heard rumors that...
What are they going to announce?
Well, I mean, we've heard that Baker's already talking about his contract. He and McClune were at that hockey game last week.
The team didn't announce that. That's just people noticed that he was at a hockey game. There's no announcement.
His tweet said we're talking about the contract a little at the hockey game. That's what...
Yeah.
But it's not an announcement. But I'm surprised we haven't even seen that level of anything from either side.
Well, I mean, unless you see Kirk and Scott at a hockey game, you're not going to know about 99% of the negotiations. That's just not how it works,
I would like to negotiate in the public, which I...
Yeah, and I think fans are reading too much into some of Kirk's comments to the press. He made a comment, toward the end of the season where he said, "I'm not trying to get every dollar," and then we had that thing where we talked about with Dan Steinberg, where he was saying, "How do you like me now?" and all that stuff.
Yeah.
People don't if you've never negotiated business deals, a lot of this is posturing. It doesn't really mean they don't really mean what they say. It's just a way to negotiate. I think you need to take all of the stuff in the media with a grain of salt.
Oh yeah. I'm so used to Adam Schefter has like 8 rumors about it every day kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I
think Scott is pretty tight-lipped, though. Bruce Allen and Scott and Eric Schaefer, those guys seem to not... We don't seem to have a lot of Redskins contract negotiation rumors floating around.
Yeah.
On a regular basis.
Yeah, I would agree. The whole status of Washington as like a place that leaks information and stories constantly really stopped when Shanahan left town. I really haven't heard that much talk about our organization that way since then.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. So we are coming up at the end here. We're at about 55 minutes. Steve, you have been. I know we've been talking a lot about contract stuff. So not to keep putting the spotlight on you, man, but you want to give a little update on the trademark
I just
situation?
saw a note this week. I wanted to get out in just as a brief background. The Redskins have the trademark lawsuit. They lost at the federal district court level, and so what they had done is they had filed an appeal directly with the United States Supreme Court and with the federal appellate court. They wanted to combine their case with a case brought by a band called the Slants. The Patent and Trademark Office had denied the band the Slants, the trademark to the Slants, claiming it was a discriminatory name. The band members, of course, are Asian Pacific, Asian Americans, and they look at that as a way to claim their heritage. The Supreme Court denied the Redskins' attempt to combine their case, and so now we're back in the appellate court. But what I noticed this week is that the Slants case had oral arguments before the Supreme Court this week.
Right.
And so the decision won't come out for a while. But what was interesting is that Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Elena Kagan, Justice Ginsburg and Justice Kagan, both asked questions that seemed to suggest they had concerns that the Patent and Trademark Office was improperly denying trademarks on the basis of discrimination. Yeah. Now, the reason why we don't get political here, but I think it's relevant to the story. Liberal judges tend to support things like laws that protect against discrimination. Mm-hmm. That's the bent of liberal judges. Conservative judges tend to support businesses.
That's a very general way
very
of
general
saying
way of
that's
saying,
a fair description.
Yeah, and conservative judges tend to support business. They tend to support freedom of speech over rights over laws against discrimination, and in terms of speech. And so it's what was interesting that Kagan and Ginsburg are both liberal judges. They're Kagan was appointed by President Obama. Ginsburg was appointed a billion years ago, but she's a liberal judge. And so if those two are even thinking that perhaps the Patent and Trademark Office acted improperly, that's good for the Redskins, because you have to assume that the conservative wing probably is already in that boat. And so if you're getting two of the more left-leaning judges to look at it as maybe the Patent and Trademark Office shouldn't have done what they did, that's ultimately good for the Redskins. So that's just all arguments. It's not a decision, but at least it's a little bit of a positive news. So.
Yep.
Absolutely, and I think to take even political parties out of it entirely, I think, a lot. If you go back, if you read some of the specifics about the Patent and Trademark Office's decision, It wasn't built off a whole lot of evidence. It wasn't built off a whole lot of anything. I understand that really like their batch of evidence was a handful of letters that people had handwritten, sent to the Patent and Trademark Office. They weren't even entirely critical of the Redskins, and that's what the PTO decided, negated the Redskins trademark. So it was it's just not a very strong case.
Well, the Redskins
and
appellate
I think,
brief
regardless of the political aisle.
Redskins appellate brief is pretty powerful. I mean, they were citing examples of some of the trademarks that the Patent and Trademark Office had agreed to, and just vile, filthy things, vile things.
That's right.
Sure. Yeah.
That's right. It's got to be consistent. I think, even if you're a liberal justice and your party tends to rule one way, I mean, I'm glad to hear that they, were asking questions like that, because this is a pretty weak case to me in terms of the Patent and Trademark.
It doesn't mean that's the way they're going to rule that way.
It
doesn't mean they're going to rule that way, but at least it's showing that they're thinking about it, at least, and they're not just locked into, Redskins name stinks. They're not locked into that. So that's good.
I think the fact that this Redskins name isn't a part of this, the case they're hearing, probably has. It's probably good for the Redskins in the end, because I think if Dan Snyder was in that room, it would just naturally push people away. That kind of thing.
No, you're not. Judges, Supreme Court justices, get the biggest companies in the country. They get the highest profile cases. They're not impressed by the NFL. It's not about that. It's not about Dan Snyder has a bad reputation.
Well,
the Supreme Court doesn't care about that.
I'm talking about people don't care about the slants. People care, like the public at large cares a lot more about the Redskins name change debate than some band.
Oh, sure. Nobody. I've never heard of the slant. Whoever they, I've never heard of them. It's just, but it's precedent. If the Supreme Court says, the Patent and Trademark Office can't deny the band, the slant's a trademark. It goes towards the Redskins having the right to use the word Redskins.
I'll be very interested to see what all the judges write about it, though. That'll be because
for sure.
I'm sure that the Redskins name will at least make it into some opinions.
It
won't make it into the Supreme Court's opinion.
Probably not.
No.
I would think.
Won't make it
probably
into...
not. But it will have import, and it'll be it'll have import. It'll be related. I doubt they'll actually specifically talk about the Redskins like Steve was saying. But interesting, good update. We'll see how it goes. This is a never-ending saga that goes back many years and continues on through the present. So we'll keep our eyes on it. Steve will continue to give us updates there. Yep. We're kind of at the end of the show, guys, but I would love to ask you. Actually, let me start by saying this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still listening to the show, thank you so much. We have launched another show. You may or may not have heard of it already. It's called All 32. It's posted on our iTunes page. It's posted on our website. Hopefully you're checking that out. We've been getting some decent attention to it, so I hope you do. It's myself and Jamal predominantly running the show. It's a show about the entire NFL, and it's really great if you're looking for to stay on the up and up as the postseason rolls along here. So make sure you're checking that out. Please do. It's on the hogsty.com and on our iTunes page. To that point, fellas, maybe as we finish up here, just curious, who do you guys have for winning these games this weekend?
Who I have and who I want are two different things. I really want to. I really.
Me too.
I want the Falcons to, be. I eventually want them to win the Super Bowl. I'd like to see a team that hasn't won it before win it for a while. But
me too, brother. Me too.
My gut tells me that we're going to see the great quarterback showdown of Green Bay versus New England, and that'll be a hell of a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But it would still be a little disappointing if the Falcons get knocked out.
I'll tell you what. I partially disagree with Alex. I do think that the Patriots are going to get it done. Tom Brady in Boston. In January, it's just hard to beat. I did say on All 32 when I did the show with you that I thought Pittsburgh was the team that had a chance to beat him. But at the end of the day, I think New England's going to get it done one way or another. From an NFC standpoint, everybody's slobbering over, Aaron Rodgers right now, and for good reason. But people forget the Atlanta Falcons are the top scoring offense in football. They're the most dynamic offense. They're the most complete offense. Indeed. This includes New England. They are the best offense in football. Now, their defense stink. This is going to be like 180 million to 170 million. It's going to be a very high scoring game.
They are predicting they're predicting a historic
because neither one of these defenses are all that good. But I think the Falcons, and it's in Atlanta. It's in the Dome, in the Georgia Dome. I actually think the Falcons are going to get it done.
Last game of the Georgia Dome, guys. Last NFL
So I think
game
we're going to
Georgia
see
Dome.
a New England Patriots, Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I see both arguments. I really hope Atlanta wins. This, to your point, this is going to be a crazy game. Lots of scoring going on. Two very high velocity offenses. Side note: I kind of feel like Kirk Cousins is Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan's got an awesome offensive line, a slightly better running game, and some great. He has the sort of the same embarrassment of riches at the receiver position. So I kind of think it's an interesting comparison. Neither one is particularly mobile, but if they have enough time, they can do really good things. This is a toss-up between Green Bay and Atlanta. It's going to be a great game. I'm not quite sure. I think I said Atlanta on all 32. Jamal said Green Bay. I can see it both ways. Not quite sure. I'm going to say Atlanta because that's what I hope happens. But on the other side of the ball, this is an interesting thing. In the other game, this is an interesting thing, guys. This game against Pittsburgh, this is the hardest game New England has had all year. If you go back and look at that schedule, they played Pittsburgh once this year already, but Big Ben was out of it. Other than that, they have faced weak teams, or if they faced a playoff team throughout the regular season, it's a weak playoff team. So this is actually the Patriots. They're sort of unstoppable, but they've also had a very nice easy waltz into the postseason here. Could be interesting. I wouldn't be terribly surprised.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, they had a pretty light one there, too. So, yeah, I think this is an interesting game. I think Pittsburgh might keep it closer than we think, though I do ultimately give it to Brady. So, I'm hoping Atlanta, New England. That's kind of what I'm thinking for. So, we'll see.
We will
see
the time
who's right.
most people listen to this, they'll know. So, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I know.
They'll know, that's right.
The show will be released after the games are over, most likely. So
I'll release it. I'll try and get it out tomorrow
I hope
morning.
not.
Sunday morning.
Yeah.
All right.
I would hope so. Get it out today,
that depends on you guys.
All right. Well, anyways, thanks for being... Yeah, you're right. Thanks for being with us on this show, The Hog Sty, tonight. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we love having you here. We'll see you next time. Continue to check us out at thehogsty.com. Take care.
And catch me on the sidelines with the Redskins.
Cut.
The one thing that no one ever talks about, by the way, with New England